Hey guys, this is a quick video. There was a newsletter I sent out the other day where I told everybody what the most important application, program, piece of software uh, in my pipeline was for making comics. Actually, kind of for making anything really, because it always starts with this application and sometimes it completely ends with this application. So I'm going to show you that program right now. That's it. It's Google Docs. This specifically is Google Sheets. It was, as titled, the Encoding Bushido Project Deadline Calculator. All right, nice title, nice long title. But you can see here that I have on the different axes every single, very broad, however single, very broad goal, deadline, task for everything about making the comic. So I had each issue. I knew it was going to be 7 issues. These dates changed, but I had preliminary dates typed into all of these categories. And one of the most important formulas was to calculate the current day according to other tasks. So each one of these was a simple formula, based on the number of pages in the comic that I had to illustrate. You'll notice that in a 24-page comic, I'm illustrating 25 pages. This includes the cover. So every cover, every page is divided into discrete tasks. That's, the initial thumbnails, layouts, lettering, inks, flat colors, rendered colors, pagination, which if you don't know what that means just assembling the comic into its sequential pages in a document that can be exported to something like Comixology or published by a short run color press service. And the final edit, which is the editorial process if I'm going to change a line here and there or whatever. And then a completion date, which again is just have I, as a matter of a percentage, completed these tasks? And when every task was finished, that added up to 1. The simple formula divided these 8 tasks, added them up and divided by 8, and that would give you a percentage. That was done. So the days to deadline, some of these I've already sort of can actually go back to the initial formula, which just subtracts the current date from the deadline. This was usually, you can see it now. This is how many days the book has actually been finished as an indicator. But this formula typed into each one of these sections prior to this deadline would give me a countdown, basically. So that was, a nice motivator to get everything done. But you can tell that, this simple document, it was the thing that kept me on track for every single one of these pages. At the end of a week, I didn't have to type anything in, to track my progress per week. As long as I knew that I had an individual task, let's say on a given day, I would have finished, sorry, wrong formula entry. On any given day, I would finish a fraction of the 25 pages required. So I would have 5 pages, and that would be a fraction of 1, which would indicate, a certain percentage finished. And like if I had this last task unfinished, this would be, something different. Yeah. So each one of these little cells kept me completely, aware of the entire process at any given moment as a percentage per issue. So this was the beginning and this was the end. Actually, I could say that the real beginning was the Google Doc, the simple Google Doc, where I wrote everything, page breakdowns, the entire script, all the rewrites. I actually kept a completely separate Google Doc per chapter for just throwing out ideas, notes on the actual script, and then I would start, polishing and embellishing or just changing things in the final script. But everything was managed from this single Google sheet, broken down into discrete tasks. And I see a lot of vloggers about comics. The only thing that they're saying is that you got to know how much work you're doing. You have to do this. You have to schedule. They're telling you how to schedule things without showing you the mechanics of making a schedule work. The tools you can use and how to divide the project that you're looking at into its discrete tasks, that you can handle. So looking at this gives you such a broad, such a, what do they call it? A 10,000 foot view of everything, but still with enough granularity, in these individual cells to manage, to micromanage as much as you want. Even this could be expanded because Google Sheets will reference via certain commands. Like I believe it's a reference to the name of the sheet. Let's say there was another Google Sheet here, and this was an individual schedule just for thumbnails, like per page. Each Google Sheet, is referenceable to another Google Sheet by its name. So this name is Sheet 3. You can actually copy the name, paste, followed by an exclamation point, and then a reference to, let's say, another cell in that sheet. Now, if I go back to the sheet, if there's a value there, it'll appear here. So you can get an enormous amount of granularity, to all of these individual cells per page, per task, but I didn't need to do that. But if you're the person who really likes to micromanage tasks, or is trying to manage a larger team who has access to this Google Sheet, then everybody can report in, fill out their individual values per their assigned sheet. Let's say this has a name, and be aware that if you change the name of these sheets, they will be, you'll be breaking your formula, which is all this really is. It's a reference to another object in another part of your Google Sheet. But if you had a larger team like that, you could manage them in a way, mathematically, let's say, using this method. But yeah, I just wanted to make a quick video because I've been seeing a couple of vloggers, comics vloggers in particular, mentioning, how do you break down a comics project without actually giving you, something actionable. It's more, I hate to say it, but it's more fluff on YouTube for someone just to say in front of a camera, yeah, you've got to break it down to your discrete tasks. Well, you have to define your process as discrete tasks. And I knew that I always start out a page after I've written the script. I've always break down a page or a book, an individual issue, into the process first of thumbnailing, then full layouts. Which is just a larger version of the thumbnails. It's kind of how I do it. You take a copy and paste approach to a larger layout on a page. And then I skipped all the way to lettering to make sure all the layouts actually work in terms of the storytelling. Then you start to render, and then you start to color, flats before full renders, pagination, and then just go back over the whole thing. And if you're unhappy with something in the process, and I would do this, I would revise these numbers at this point so that this percentage would fluctuate up and down if I didn't think I was done or not. And I would only have to do this every couple of days. Sometimes I would do it every day if I'm moving very quickly. But there you have it. This is the most important single document tool application in my comics workflow. All right. I'll talk to you soon.